I don't really know how I got started working with chickens, but I started out to be a pathologist, and I took my master's degree, but I had done a little work with chickens before.
Right.
I came here, and then I took my wife's job, which would be an assistant in the Department of Avian Diseases.
Right.
And worked for my PhD. So I switched from a major in general pathology to a major in avian diseases, with a minor in pathology and nutrition.
Right.
So I got to work with a lot of, we had some very fascinating people at Cornell back in those days.
Yes.
There were quite a few of them were right there on the cutting edge, and it was quite an experience. I always considered I was lucky. After I came and went through as a graduate student, just as I finished, a job opened up here, which was at that time, one of the 2 full-time research jobs in the veterinary college. Not like now. And we had the state provided money for research in 2 areas because they were important to New York State agriculture. One was poultry diseases, the other was for mastitis research. So we had those 2 positions. Well, I got the poultry one, and since I got to do right away what I wanted to do from the beginning was research, I stayed on the rest of my life. That's being lucky, to get paid for doing something you enjoy. Right. There are an awful lot of people in this world who don't have that good fortune.
That's exactly right.
In fact, we're a tiny minority that do.
Right. You're exactly right.
And I started out working with respiratory diseases. First Newcastle, then bronchitis came along. And by the time I finished my PhD, we had the beginnings of what was called chronic respiratory disease, which was a mixture of mycoplasma and virus with secondary E. coli. And the interesting thing was that by the time we knew enough about the disease to diagnose it and understood something about it, every major breeding flock in the United States was positive. And as far as I can tell, this was essentially true all over the world because these people were always, legally or not, a lot of birds moved around that probably never should have.
Right.
Or else they bought some breeder's hatching eggs, and transported them. Right. But at any rate, by the time we knew enough, we were faced with an entirely different problem. And that was how to produce clean chicks, MG-free chicks, from infected parents. That took a lot of work. I spent 5 years studying egg transmission and how it occurred and how to prevent it. We eventually did. And we came up with 2 procedures. I don't know, Bruce must have told you something about Dr. Levine.
Yes.
Dr. Levine was both our major professors. And he and I worked as a team for about 25 years. He sat in the office and we discussed all the projects and planned, and then I had to get out and do the work. But because he was very busy, he had lots of other duties.
Right.
But it was fun. It was one of these jobs where periodically we went over things and made a list of what we ought to be doing and what we had the kind of facilities to do, and it had a priority list. Well, as things went on, some things never got to the top of the priority list, and some yet have never been done.